I accidentally called out a new colleague on lying about her language skills. This woman, Whitney, started at our office 4 days earlier. She worked in marketing and had this constant need to be the center of attention, the type who interrupts meetings to make everything about herself. I'm in the break room with Whitney and 2 coworkers drinking coffee. Someone mentions canceling a family trip, and Whitney immediately jumps in about how devastated she is because she travels to Europe twice a year. She goes on about France and the Netherlands like it's her whole personality. Then she says she's worried her language skills will get rusty without practice. My coworker asks what she means, and Whitney says she's fluent in French and Dutch at native speaker level. She claims people in Europe are always shocked she's American. I got excited because I never get to speak Dutch here. I'm from Belgium and grew up speaking both Dutch and French at home. Without thinking, I said, "Oh, Luke, Dan hebben we iets gemeenschappelijk," which means, "Oh, fun, we have something in common then." Whitney's face changed. She asked if that was supposed to be Dutch. I said yeah. She laughed and said she couldn't understand me because I had a terrible accent and probably wasn't as fluent as I thought. I was confused because Dutch is literally my first language. I told her I grew up speaking it and talked to my family in it every week. She got annoyed and demanded to know where I was from. I said Belgium, so I also speak French. Then I added, "You said you're fluent in French too, right? We can switch to that." Whitney stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. She said whatever and stormed out. My coworkers looked at each other and one muttered she shouldn't lie about stuff like that. 2 days later, I got called to a meeting with HR and my boss Kevin. My stomach dropped. The HR person, Diane, said Whitney filed a formal complaint claiming I harassed her by speaking gibberish to mock her. Whitney told them I was jealous of her language skills and made everything up. I explained what actually happened. Diane looked at me like she wasn't sure who to believe. Kevin spoke up. He's this quiet guy who never talks much in meetings. He said, "I was walking past the break room and heard everything." He looked at Diane and said, "She spoke perfect Dutch. I'm from Rotterdam originally." Diane froze. She asked if he was certain. Kevin switched to Dutch and asked me a question. I responded in Dutch, asking how long he'd lived here. We had a 30-second conversation while Diane just watched. Kevin told Diane that Whitney clearly didn't speak any Dutch and had no idea what was being said. Diane pulled up Whitney's resume on her computer. Her face went pale. She said Whitney listed fluent Dutch and French as skills. Kevin said that's partly why marketing hired her for the European accounts. Diane stood up and walked out without saying a word. 5 minutes later, I heard yelling from across the office. Whitney's voice carried over the cubicles screaming, "This is bullshit, and you can't do this." I looked over and saw her shoving things into a cardboard box while Diane stood there with her arms crossed. 2 security guards walked toward her desk. Whitney grabbed the box and tried to leave, but one guard blocked her path. She tried going around him, but he just moved with her. She stopped and turned toward where I was sitting. When she saw me watching, her face went bright red. She shouted across the office, "This is your fault," loud enough that everyone stopped working. The guard took her elbow and she yanked away but started walking to the exit. At the door, she turned back and pointed directly at me. "I hope you're happy," she yelled. Security walked her out and the door closed. My coworker came over asking what happened. I said Whitney got fired for lying on her resume and filing a false complaint. She said, "Yeah, that tracks," and went back to work like nothing happened. Kevin sent me a Teams message that just said, "Don't worry about it." Whitney's desk sat empty with the chair pushed in crooked. Facilities cleaned it out the next day.